Hello, this is Greg Allison from Greg's Garden and Worm Farm, coming to you on the 26th of July, 2020 by my log barn. Many of you have asked about tools. Greg, what tools should I get for gardening? What tools should I get for the homestead? So today's talk will be about non-power tools, manual tools, hand tools, the ones that you can have that will operate when the grid goes down, when there's no fuel available, no power or any of that. The things that you can always count on and rely on. That's the topic today. Before going into that, I'm going to say, if you've not subscribed to my channel, subscribe and bang the update notification bell and click all. Because I do a lot of videos. I do videos on how to garden, how to grow things, how to eat and forage from the weeds and the trees. I've got videos that show you there's a lot of food up in here. And I cover what's going on in the world. My eyes wide open, my head on the swivel type news. Why? Because you need to see what's happening. You need to understand. My proposition on my channel is to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. All that said, it's time to prep. Definitely time to prep. You need to go to My Patriot Supply or go to my link to it, which is prepwithgreg.com. Go to prepwithgreg.com, link below, and it will take you into a special deal where you can get $100 off. There's two special deals, but one of them sold out. The one that's still there is $100 off a 4-week food supply. Food that's highly nutritious, good for you, good variety, will last up to 25 years for $100 off. Great deal. Can't beat it. Buy several of them. Get them while you can. And then you can go into the logo where it says My Patriot Supply. Click on it and you can go into My Patriot Supply and get water filtration, all kind of prepping supplies. And it all helps my channel. Also, you need to garden. You need to plant your own stuff. It's not too late. There's still a fall garden you can grow. And I'll be planting some of that real soon. You can still plant peas and beans right now. And all kind of, fall squash. You can still plant summer squash, for a few more days. Go to you won't be heirloom seeds though, so go to True Leaf Market, link below. Also, you can grow food in your house. I do videos on that, and you can get supplies for growing microgreens in your home with True Leaf Market. All right, so let's get into the tools. Everybody wants to know about tools. When I did that little video with the farmers market, everybody was asking me about tools. Here are hand tools that I use and use a lot. The single most important tool to get if you're a gardener or a farmer, if you can't afford anything else, is a hoe. I'm Santa. Santa's got hoes, right? Ho, ho, ho. Or Green Greg's ho, ho, ho. Green Giant. This one has been a bit warped. I'm going to have to replace it. Looks like it's cracked. I do have some hired hands, and they are notorious for not taking care of things. And if it goes down and you break something, you're not going to replace it. You need extra ones. I had 2 hoes of this type, and this is I don't know what happened to the other one. Just kind of walked off, and this is starting to look a little beat up. But anyway, you saw me with this hoe digging real hard with it the other day. I did not bend it, I did not break it, and somebody has done something to it since then. In the event, there you are. That's why you need a lot of tools. Some that can be repaired. As you know, I'm going to have a blacksmith shop I'm going to be running. But a hoe is your single most important thing. There's another kind of hoe I'm going to show you. That hoe is good for chopping. You can see me where I'm getting ready to set up my sweet potatoes. I'm using this hoe, and I'm seriously digging and chopping with it. This hoe is a stirrup hoe. It is good for just running up and down in the ground and taking the little weeds out. This is a road. It's got rocks, but you can just take it literally and run it, and it'll cut weeds. I'm trying not to do it here, really dig down in the dirt because I've got rocks in here. But that's how it operates. And you can get a whole lot of weeds real fast with a hoe like this. But you got to do it pretty regularly while the weeds are small. My problem is that when I hire people to help take care of my garden, they don't take care of them until the weeds are too tall. You can have to pull them out by hand. So, yeah. Now, I have shown you what I've called my most important, my favorite tool many times. And I've got another tool here to show you by variant, by comparison. I've got some stuff here. I'm draining a worm tea bag. I got an old wheelbarrow I need to repair. Wheelbarrows, you can count that in your tool list. You need wheelbarrows. I didn't bring one of them out here. This, I call it my garden tiller. I like this tool, the handle got broke off. I still use it like it is. I'm kind of stick it in the ground, with that sharp corner. But what I like about this are these very robust, short, relatively short, not too short tines here. I got a similar one here I'll show you that I don't even use. I'm going to show it to you by comparison just because the tines are so flimsy. You see this one? Yeah, they're kind of thick, but they're so long I can't dig with this one the way I can dig with that. Just don't dig the same. It don't even come close to it. I mean, this is an okay sort of tool, but you know, when I got it, I was thinking of the other tool. I thought, oh yeah, this would be nice to have. It's just not as good. The tines are longer and a little thinner, and it just don't dig anywhere near as good as my hand tiller. But just showing where I put it. All right, just set it down here. Where did I stick it? Here it is. This is an awesome digger. I call it my hand tiller. I can till with this deeper and probably faster than a lot of people using a rototiller. Or you can aerate soil with it. You may not find this. I bought this at a flea market. Finding one like this somewhere is going to be a challenge. I probably one day will go into blacksmith and making tools and sell them, and I will probably make that and sell it just because you can't find it anywhere else, along with broadforks. Broadforks are a great tool to have. I don't have a broadfork. It costs you a fair bit of money to buy a broadfork, so I've been getting by without one. But for some broadforks, if you don't know what I'm talking about, are used to aerate your soil. You can do it with a tool like this. This is a regular garden fork. It'll take more work to do it with this than a garden fork. This is also a good digging tool to dig up potatoes, garlic, and all kinds of things like this. I also use this for digging worms a lot. A similar tool that I find very handy and helpful is a pitchfork. I use this for tossing weeds into the compost pile mostly. Toss hay with it. Those tines are too far apart to dig worms. There are other forks like hay forks you might find in a horse department which have them closer together. That's also good for digging worms, but I actually use mostly my garden fork for that job. You may have noticed I've used post hole diggers a lot in digging places because I make a big enough place to put a lot of worm castings in where I plant a plant. So I use post hole diggers a lot. I also dig post holes with them, including my greenhouse. I've dug lots of post holes that are 4 foot deep. Now that's a challenge to dig a 4 foot deep post hole, but that's what I needed because I was putting up 20 foot long poles and I needed 16 foot above ground and 4 foot underground, and that's what runs down the center of my greenhouse. So I have used post hole diggers quite a bit, including when I was a kid, because that's how we used to dig post holes for all of our fences. We didn't have those augers with tractors. So of course you need an axe. Now this is a brand new axe, and so I still got the tabs on. I've got a couple of these axes. I just bought this one. It's got a plastic handle. It should last for a while. I prefer myself the double-bladed axes because the double-bladed axe is really good. In case you get one side, you do something to it, you can start cutting with the other side, and you can keep cutting in the woods for a long time without having to stop and resharpen. Now, some people buy an axe that's got a blade on one side and a hammer on the other. One of the advantages of doing that is a wedge. You can use that hammer side to drive the wedge, but you're still better to drive that wedge with a sledgehammer than an axe. So these are good for splitting wood. I've got a couple of these, good wedges. I have used them, they're good to use. And to drive that, here's one of my 2 sledgehammers. I've had this sledgehammer for a few decades now, and I've used it pretty extensively. Good tool. So what else do you need? One of the most important tools used on a farm is a shovel. There's one of my other axes. I got 3 axes. I said I had 2. I've got 3 axes. Pardon me. That's the last one I've been using. Okay, there's an axe. Got another axe inside the garage, or the barn here. Now see, one of the other tools that you really need to use is a shovel. Like I said, the most important tool to buy is a hoe. Well, right up there with it is a shovel. You can get the long handle shovels. I kind of prefer these shovels because they're easy for me to work with. I can put my foot up on it and dig down. Oh yeah, you see my toeless shoes. They're great for working out in the garden. I just don't care, you won't hurt them. But these, you want a sharp point on your shovel. I don't like the flat tip ones just because, well, they might be hard for shoveling the grain, but they're not really great for digging. Another good digging tool, well, this is a type of shovel I like for digging around trees. I've got 2 shovels like this. This is one of the kind of shovels we used a lot when I was a kid growing up. My dad used to sell white pines. He had a white pine nursery. And this is the kind of shovel we dug those trees up with. This is good for a lot of certain kind of digs when you need to dig deep quickly. This is a good shovel for that. It's good for getting under the taproot of a tree. I use that kind of shovel quite a bit. But if you had to pick and choose, buy one like this. You can get a long handle one. I just kind of prefer that short handle because it also lets me, you can throw stuff with it a whole lot better. Now, another tool that's good to have is a garden rake. I mean a rake like this. You can get cheap ones. Now cheap ones will bend in the middle. Get a good one. This has been pretty abused, but it's still surviving. So, another thing you want on a farm is a scoop, especially if you're on a worm farm, got animals feed, or you have feed, a scoop manure, feed, or anything like that. A scoop is a really good thing to have. It's a form of a shovel. It's no scoop. That's a feed scoop or something like that. You don't want one with too much bend in the handle. Really, I've had something like that. It's just not all that handy for me. Of course, other tools, you do need something to dig with, sometimes small and portable. I did have a handheld fork out here a minute ago. The small ones with little prongs on them. Those are real handy. What did I do with it? I had it a minute ago, but cedars are nice to have. That's an earthway cedar. There are more expensive ones. Curtis Stone covers those in his channel. Was it Yangway or something? I forget what he calls it. Those are good for planting a lot of seeds real fast, and it gets the distance set out right. I can show you more on that in the future. I am missing some of my planting wheels for that one though. Hand saws, of course. Crosscut saws would be good to buy. You can probably only get them at a flea market these days. I've got one, but it's kind of buried, so I didn't get it out today. There are many kinds of weeders. This is one type of sling blade. You can get them where they're connected on both sides. That's more typical. This one is, kind of lets you do a lot of smaller close-in cutting. I kind of like that about it. You probably won't find one like this today. Maybe it's something else I'll offer. Of course, there's my scythe. I did a video on using a scythe. And yeah, you should use a peen hammer and a few other things for sharpening it. And, there's handles you can get to make them a little more easy to use. But that one works pretty good. You see me use it. So, what have I left out here? We got the axes, the sledgehammers, the scythes, the shovels, the rakes. Those are the primary tools you have to have. Post hole diggers, I just find those very, very important. But if you had to just buy almost nothing, buy hose. It's important to have good hose. You need a lot of them. Anyway, so they're good digging tools. I have often used a hoe that had a blade that was come to a triangle point at the very front, like an arrowhead. Those are really good for breaking ground that hadn't been broken before. When I was a 7-year-old kid, I got one of those hoes, and I think the handle had been broken off of it, so my mom and dad just gave it to me. It was my first hoe. And I tore up a patch of grass close to where I used to catch a bus. It wasn't in our yard, it was over close to where we had a pot pine nursery. And I just tore it up with one of those hoes. And it was real thick, hard ground, but I made me a garden patch there and planted gourds in it. My first garden, my first plants I grew myself when I was 7-year-old was a gourd garden. Of course, I grew up having to work in our other garden, but the gourd garden, that was my first garden. It was my own garden. So that's how I started gardening at 7 years old, 53 years ago. In 1967, I was making a garden. And the only tool I used was one of those little sharp tip hoes. I'll get me one soon, another one or two. So I'm going to go on a trip to buy a bunch more garden tools. Why? Things might close down again soon, and when it goes down, all you got is what you got. If it breaks, you're not replacing it. If it walks off, you're not replacing it. You need all the tools you can have, especially manual tools. Wouldn't hurt to have another axe. I definitely need some more hoes, some more shovels. That's the main things, hoes and shovels. Maybe another rake or two. I need some more scoops. There's a few things I need, and I plan to go and acquire them. Like I said, I got 2 shovels like this. Those are great shovels. I got a couple shovels like this. I've got a long handle shovel. So I already have some other tools. And I'll show you, I got a few in this wall here. And I got some in another place too. As you can see, here's some of the post hole diggers. You can see some of the other pitchforks. You can see the shovel I just bought at the flea market the other day. And of course you can see scoops. You know, some of those plastic scoops break. There's another garden fork, another axe, another sledgehammer, broken broom, my market tent, and 2 wheelbarrows with some garlic. The trough needs to be fixed. So yeah, you can't have too many hoes, too many shovels. These are things you need. Get good hand tools. Because when the grid goes down and there's no fuel available, no electric power, you won't be able to run your chainsaws and weed eaters and tillers, but you can run these things. And it don't cost that much money. You can start a garden. You can start a market garden with things like this. Buy extra. Why extra? Because several reasons. One, when the grid goes down, like I said, you're not going to be getting anything else. But your neighbors are going to be starving too. I say buy extra garden tools and buy extra seeds. And you can cut deals for sharecropping your neighbors' lawns or supplying them that stuff. It'll be a whole lot better if they're eating on their own stuff than eating you and your stuff. I'm going to cover that more in depth later. Much more in depth later. So stay tuned to my channel and watch the videos on that. Thank you for watching.